Hello everyone and welcome back once again to another Microsoft Flight Simulator tutorial. A short while back I made a video on the basics of the heads-up display in the PMDG 737, in which I covered all the information that you can derive from the HUD. Today's video is going to be a follow-up on that tutorial, so if you haven't had the chance to check out the previous video, be sure to do so after this one. What we will be covering today was actually requested by one of you guys, and it is the panel that is used to control the information on your heads-up display. I had to do a bit of research into this panel since I wasn't at all familiar with it myself, and I did find a very thorough guide online that I used as source material for this video. I put a link to the PDF file in the description below. It's completely free and offers a very broad explanation of pretty much every single enunciation on the heads-up display and every function of the HUD control panel as well. I must say though that the guide that I used was one that covered the HUD system in the CRJ 700, whereas we will be covering the 737 today. But since both aircraft use a system made by the same company, they are very similar if not identical, apart from a few minor differences, which I will of course point out when we get to them. If you are new to the channel, be sure to do a touch and go on that subscribe button along with the bell icon so you never miss out on any new content. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to give it a like and go check out some of my other tutorials as well. Now without further ado, let's jump into the flight deck. The panel that we will be talking about today is called the HCP, or Heads-Up Guidance Control Panel, and it is located in between the two pilots on the pedestal, if you have selected the option for the Heads-Up Guidance System in the FMC options page. It's a pretty basic panel with just a few buttons, so it's not overly complicated to use, but we'll go over every button and function separately. Now I already have to point out a difference with the guide that I found online. According to the guide, this button right here should say active instead of mode, and that button would be used to set the primary mode to active during a flight, but in the PMDG 737 this button has a slightly different yet similar function. As the name suggests, this is used to change the mode of the HUD display. A different mode displays different information on the screen, and I quickly covered two separate modes in the previous video. The 737 has a total of 4 modes, as far as I know: PRI, VMC, IMC, and A3. PRI stands for primary and is, as the name suggests, the primary mode that is used in most phases of flight and displays the most information. I'm not going to cover what information can be derived from this mode. For that you can check out my previous video. The next mode that you would use most in flight is the A3 mode, which is, as I covered a while back, is used for ILS landings up to category 3 minimums. The IMC mode is basically the same as primary mode as far as I can see, apart from the fact that it is decluttered a little bit more to allow for better visibility through the display. VMC is also a mode that is more decluttered and it doesn't have the flight director circle to guide you, as this mode is meant for use during visual approaches, so the pilot uses the flight path vector to keep the aircraft on track for the runway. So those are the 4 modes that you can use during your flights. When doing an ILS landing, the aircraft will automatically switch from primary to A3 for you once you establish the aircraft on the ILS. As far as I know, if you want to make use of the other 2 modes, you will have to select them yourselves, but this is quite easy to do. Assume you are approaching an airport and you know in advance that you're going to do a visual approach. To ease your workload, you can already pre-select the VMC mode by pressing the standby button until VMC shows up on the screen. Then all you need to do once you need to use it is press the mode button, which will set the VMC to the active line. That's it. Under the standby button, you'll see 2 other buttons as well. The first one says runway and it is used to change the information about your runway you're taking off from or landing on. You have 2 parameters you can change: the elevation and the runway length. To change these figures, you first press the runway button and then you just type in the value that you want with the numpad. When typing something, the capital E will tell you if you are setting an elevation, and if you're setting a runway length, it will show a capital L, and a M beside it to indicate you are working in meters. Also a fun little hint for you if you are flying to the Netherlands, for example, which is, as you know, below sea level. In order to tell the aircraft this, you can press the dim button and this will put a minus symbol on the screen, and then you can proceed to type in the value. Lastly, we also have a button that says GS. This does not stand for ground speed, but actually glide slope. And with this you can, go figure, change the glide slope for your approach. That will be displayed on your HUD. This is particularly handy for approaches into an airport like London City Airport, for example, that doesn't use the traditional 3-degree glide slope. That covers pretty much all there is to this little panel. You can, of course, set the brightness of the display to whichever value you desire. Do note that the background lighting for the numpad and buttons is linked to the knob on the pedestal instead, so that all lights are at the same level. There's also a clear button to correct yourself if you type in something wrong, and lastly a test button, pretty self-explanatory that one. And there we have it, that concludes the heads-up guidance control panel. If you liked the video and you found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more tutorials. Or let me know down below in the comment section if you want to see a specific video about a certain subject. For now, that's all I have. Happy flying and soft landings to you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya!